Jason, however, continued to not say much other than apologizing for the headbutt, which I'm still glad Jason headbutted Dante in Monday's episode. Even though I don't dislike Dante, since I've been watching again, they write Dante as very slow. Maybe he needed a headbutt to the head to try and think more clearly going forward. Good morning, everybody. I am here to talk about, dare I say, yesterday's excellent episode of General Hospital. I feel like they have really been doing very well so far this week. I didn't think Monday's episode could be topped because that's where we had all the action, but yesterday, with the aftermath of the action, was even better. And I think it's because the actual outline for the episode was great. Everything in Tuesday's episode had to deal with the main storyline that's been going on. We didn't have to deal with boring Brooklyn and the baby Jane Doe stuff like we did on Monday. So I think with everything tied together in yesterday's Tuesday episode, it came across very well, fast paced, and yeah, I mean, I can't say enough. Because look, my hatred for Frank Valentini runs deep, but so far he and his writing team are the only people right now in soaps, the only soap opera right now that is trying to give us some good dramatic television. So I will give props where props are due. I am blunt when it comes to my criticism of these soaps, but when they are doing good, I can give credit where credit is due. Let's start with the aftermath. We started with Jason and Cullum once again fighting, struggling, and then Rocco shooting Cullum from behind. Nathan arrived to see Rocco with the gun, and Cullum shot. And Nathan told Jason, patrol cars are 2 minutes out. What's the play? They then turned to a knockout Britt, but even though Britt is supposed to be Nathan's sister, it felt like Nathan was far more worried about getting Rocco out of the scene of the crime. Jason checked Britt's pulse to see that she was okay, and then he had Nathan take Rocco out of there. Jason then shot the gun in the water so that his hands prints would be on the gun, I think. And then he woke up Britt, telling her that she needs to say that she saw him shoot Cullum. Then, of course, Dante arrived at the scene to arrest Jason, probably feeling good about it a little bit after Jason headbutted him in Monday's episode. They said that Cullum was shot in the back but still alive. At that point, Dante asked Britt who shot Cullum, but she was either actually confused after hitting her head or acting confused. Britt went to the hospital for Portia to check up on her. Meanwhile, Dante did bring Jason into the police station, wanting to know what's up because Jason doesn't usually resist arrest like he did today. And Dante is telling Jason that because of his assault on Dante, he could throw him in jail easily right now because he assaulted an officer, and the DA and others would finally get Jason where they've wanted him for years. However, Dante doesn't want to do that because apparently, I wasn't watching at this point, but Jason saved Dante's life the night that he came back to town. And now Dante wants to help Jason for Sam and Rocco and Danny. Jason, however, continued to not say much other than apologizing for the headbutt, which I'm still glad Jason headbutted Dante in Monday's episode. Even though I don't dislike Dante, since I've been watching again, they write Dante as very slow. Maybe he needed a headbutt to the head to try and think more clearly going forward. Because once again, he doesn't even know that his own son is the person responsible for the shooting. They're probably going to leave him out of that info. He's probably going to be the last to learn that Rocco is the one that shot Cullum, and he's supposed to be the main guy of the police. So that sucks for Dante, although I am kind of looking forward to the aftermath of Dante's reaction to all of that. Nathan took Rocco home, asking him if anyone saw him at the pier, but as soon as they arrived at the home, Lulu opened the door, and Rocco immediately fell into his mother's arms. I think he even said mama. Nathan wants Lulu to not say anything about tonight where Rocco is concerned. Nathan tells her that a WSB agent was shot and that Rocco was indeed involved. Before Nathan left, Rocco asked Nathan if Cullum was dead, and Nathan says he will find out. But whatever happens, Rocco was never there. Lulu tried to talk to her son and console him. I did like Lulu in these scenes with her son because clearly Lulu was wanting to panic about what is happening and Nathan bringing Rocco home and with all this information, but she couldn't go off too much because she had to console her son, so those were well done scenes. Lulu asked Rocco to tell her what happened at the end of the episode, though. Meanwhile, Alexis and Danny were bickering about helping Jason out with his legal troubles now that he headbutted Dante and ran from the police, only for them to walk into Alexis' office and see the stabbed Marco on the ground. So someone finally found Marco stabbed on the ground, bleeding out. Danny called 911 and Alexis tended to the bleeding Rocco, trying to stop the bleeding. But Marco soon after went unconscious with Alexis freaking out. Medics arrived. Chase came to question Alexis. I thought these were also well done scenes. It has us, well, some of us worrying for Marco. I know some of you in the comments don't really care about Marco. I just think there's other characters that could be killed off before Marco. This show has a lot of characters, and I wouldn't mind some of them being killed off or leaving town before Marco, but here we are. Danny, of course, went to go tell all of his troubles to Charlotte, and at the end, Charlotte tells Danny that she knows someone who can help with the Jason situation. I don't know if she's talking about her father, but we will probably find out. I liked the Danny and Charlotte scenes, but they would be so much better if they weren't kissing cousins. So I still think that is a problem for the younger set of characters that they now have, that they are throwing into these stories, and they do really good jobs with the acting. I think Rocco's doing a really good job right now. They have a good younger set. I think if they just added a couple more characters that don't have ties to the canvas, so they're not related, I think would really make for a good younger set for this summer. Carly told Valentin that she had to trash some of the dinner that we saw him cook for her in Monday's episode. She had to throw it out when Lucas arrived so Lucas wouldn't ask too many questions. Valentin said that just because she regrets having sex with him doesn't mean she should starve him to death. Valentin was being sappy in these scenes with Carly. He also keeps throwing that in Carly's face, which is kind of manipulative. Carly was telling Valentin that it's not about them sleeping together. It's about Jocelyn, because she blames herself for the fact that Carly got close to Jack Brennan, and that resulted in Brennan recruiting Joss into the WSB. And they squabbled over the fact that Carly compared Valentin to Brennan, but she did point out that Brennan used to do little things that seemed manipulative to Carly, and that's what Carly is calling Valentin out on here. Carly thought that she knew Brennan, and she didn't, and now she feels like it's probably the same with Valentin. I thought Carly made good points in this. However, the thing with Valentin is he's very good as a character to heighten the romance in his pairings. We used to see this with Valentin and Anna. It's a classic soap opera thing where there is angst. You know, it's something we don't see enough, if at all, in modern soap opera couples. And I think Valentin as a character does do a good job of portraying that angst. And I think he did a good job in these scenes with Carly. So I did not mind these scenes, even though they were probably the least dramatic things happening in the episode. It's still tied to the overall story, obviously, because Valentin is on the run from the WSB, and it's all very interconnected with the writing right now for this main story. Lucas was at work with Liz at the beginning of this episode, with Lucas on the phone calling about getting a sweet card for Marco, and he's going to be having a bunch of food delivered to their hotel room because they're staying at the Metro Court, and they're going to have a romantic night full of food, or so Lucas thinks, Lucas and Liz learned that there are victims coming in, one that was shot, one that was stabbed. When Lucas learned that the first victim being brought in was Cullum, who was shot, he called Marco, hoping to hear Marco's voice and to hear that Marco is safe because he knows that Cullum was shot. And I think Lucas is slowly starting to realize how much trouble Marco might actually be in. Lucas scrubbed into surgery to get ready to do surgery on Cullum, not realizing that Marco had been brought in and is now having his own surgery next door. Portia was the one that let Britt know that Marco had also been brought in for multiple stab wounds. I don't know who's going to live or die. I don't know if they're both going to die. I don't know if they're both going to live. I would assume one's going to die, one's going to live. Obviously, the, I guess, more romantic story is Marco surviving for Lucas' sake. I still contend, like I said in my review yesterday for Monday's episode, that killing off Marco, but also killing off Cullum doesn't work to get the most drama out of this. So I don't think they could kill off both of them, and I don't think they will. I will say, though, that if they save Cullum's life and Marco dies, it's a little close to already what they did with Drew not so long ago. They did the whole who shot Drew storyline. Instead of killing Drew off, who was a villain on the show, if they just shoot another villain and they don't kill off Cullum, then it's kind of a bit of a rinse repeat for me, a little way too soon after they just did that with Drew. But there's many different ways the story can go, which is what I always say is a good story for a soap opera. When there's many different ways a story can go, there's a lot of aftermath that can play out of this. If Nathan is a bad guy and is really working with Sidwell, he has all this information right now on Rocco, and he can really kind of blackmail Rocco and Lulu for Sidwell if it comes to that. Because, we're all speculating that Nathan is not the real Nathan. And the fact that Nathan did not even react to Britt being hurt made me question if he's even a twin. Because I still think if Nathan was a twin, he would still care about his sister. So there's a lot of possibilities just with Nathan alone. So I think the show is in a really good spot. I think they've done a great job with this storyline this week. The action, the drama, the aftermath. And because of the way this week is going down, this week is good because we still don't know who's going to live or die. So there's still more drama to come from that. But even with the long-term storytelling from the aftermath of this story, there's a lot of different directions for a lot of different characters. So, like I said at the beginning, props where props is due.